Yes, we all agreed. Okay. Thank you. So, item 4, planning items. So the first item on the agenda is a Signal Park development land and site at 1 Hook Rise South in Tolworth. We have a couple of registered speakers we'll come to shortly, but first I'd like to pass over to Colin, planning officer, who will be presenting this item. Over to you, Colin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I begin my presentation, can I draw your attention to a typo that's been spotted by somebody with very, very sharp eagle eyes? It's page A173 of your agenda, and it is relating to condition 39 for Signal Park, and we have a bit about a word that says parking overheating, which it should just say parking and not parking overheating. So thank you, Chair. This is a hybrid application which seeks to complete the Signal Park master plan. As you're aware, phase 1 is already built and provides 211 affordable homes. We are now looking at the remaining 4.4 hectares of this brownfield site. The hybrid application is split into 2 parts. The detailed part of the application proposes 336 dwellings across 4 blocks, and the outline part of the application, which is subject to a reserved matters application, proposes to deliver 629 dwellings, totaling 965 dwellings. Including the approved and built-out phase 1, the overall site will provide 1,176 dwellings. This represents an increase in 226 dwellings over the previously approved scheme. To provide context, phase 1 is highlighted here. It's complete and occupied and provides 211 affordable homes. Application site for phase 2 covers 440 hectares. Excuse me while the screen comes back on again. Which includes this site in the northeast, and this site here completes the phase 2 application. It's a highly sustainable location situated between the A3 and the railway line, but critically positioned as the primary gateway to Tolworth from the south. This residential-led master plan delivers 965 new homes, an uplift of 226 units, 2019 permission. The scheme is split into a detailed component, which is phase 2A, that is block E, block G2 and G3 and H on the corner. Ground floor activation is strategically placed at the site's key gateways and heart. Block E features a gym fronting the roundabout, while Block H provides a cafe retail unit at the station entrance. Within the outline phase, Block G1 is envisioned to house a convenience store facing Signal Park Square. These uses are linked by the green spine through the middle of the site, which secures a flexible community space designed to overlook the landscape, ensuring a vibrant, connected route from phase 1 through to Tolworth Station. It's important to note that the Class E provision here is ancillary in nature. By providing a local gym and a station cafe, it helps in creating a sustainable 15-minute neighbourhood. These units are sized specifically to serve new and existing residents of Signal Park and Tolworth Station users, ensuring they complement rather than compete with the established high street offer on the Broadway. key material consideration is the 2019 permission on the left. Although the outline permission has lapsed, the principle of high-density residential neighbourhood has been established. The current proposal on the right adds 226 dwellings over the lapsed scheme. Although this represents an increase in density, it has led to an improvement in the design by redistributing the mass through smaller footplates. It has freed up the ground plane to create a far more visually porous and high-quality environment. The buildings in this scheme are taller than those in 2019, but they have significantly smaller footprints. By creating more slender and taller buildings means that more communal open space is created at ground floor and far more visually open, in turn helping to make a high-quality environment. The design-less density creates greater visual separation between the blocks and allows more sunlight to reach the public squares. Crucially, this approach has secured a 190% increase in community-focused floor space compared to the original plans and an exceptional 70% biodiversity net gain. By buying space with height, it helps transform a concrete brownfield site into a lung for the local area, featuring 277 new trees and a continuous sunlit green spine. Regarding the architectural scale, it is acknowledged that these are tall buildings that will be prominent within the local skyline. When optimizing a strategic brownfield gateway of this nature, increased density is a primary objective, and this inevitably results in a visible change to the local character. However, this height is utilized strategically in acting as a vertical marker for the site, creating a sense of place and a distinct identity for the new residential quarter. Rather than a traditional low-rise sprawl, this approach uses height as a tool to buy the ground level space required for the 70% biodiversity net gain and the extensive public realm members see in the plan. The architectural articulation, incorporating varied palettes, deep setbacks, and different building heights, ensures that the development does not present a single monolithic mass. Instead, it establishes a high-quality, contemporary character that signifies the regeneration of this gateway site, balancing the necessity of high-density housing with the delivery of meaningful, open community space. This CGI shows Block E, which sits adjacent to the Tolworth roundabout. It's an island site that acts as a landmark. Block H sits to the back of that at the station. The phase sets out the architectural standard for the rest of the development, utilizing high-quality brickwork and rhythmic window patterns that respond to the local vernacular. Activation is a key to making this neighborhood rather than just an estate. Over 900 square meters of Class E commercial space have been secured. Block E will house a gym, Block H a station-facing cafe. This ensures footfall and natural surveillance throughout the day, connecting the site back to Tolworth Broadway. The taller and more slender approach has allowed a high-quality landscape green spine to be secured. There's been a 190% increase in community floor space compared to the original plans. It is envisaged that the green spine is a series of outdoor rooms that provide play space, biodiversity, and a safe car light servicing route for residents and commuters alike. This slide shows the specific materials for Block G3, which serve as an example of the high-quality architectural standard we are securing for the detailed phase. The quality of the finish is paramount on a site of this scale. This shows a mix of multi-stock brickwork, bronze metalwork for balconies, and rhythmic window detailing. These materials are chosen for the durability and appearance. To ensure this vision is delivered on the ground, a robust materials condition has been included. This requires the applicant to submit physical samples and mock-up panels for on-site inspection and approval before any above-ground works begin. This ensures that the high-quality architectural portrayed in these GCIs is what gets built. This view takes us to the scheme to look at, inside the scheme to look at blocks H, G3 and G2 from the new internal landscape, streetscape. What is important to note here is the sense of visual separation. By utilising the taller and slender approach, this has allowed increased spacing between buildings' faces. This allows natural light to penetrate into the site and creates frame views through the green spine. In the foreground, you can see how the architecture meets the foreground. Residential quality has been prioritised with clear defined, safe entrances and high quality landscaping that acts as a transition between the private homes and the public realm. The layout has been designed with a varied skyline that responds to the human scale at ground floor. These blocks effectively set the design code for the remaining outline phases, ensuring the high standard of architecture and the openness is maintained across the entire 4.4 hectare site. The proposed affordable housing provision for phase 2 consists of 204 affordable homes. The tenure is split between 110 social rent and 94 shared ownership intermediate homes. These homes will be distributed across the specific blocks within the development subphases. Phase 2A, which is the detailed application, this phase will deliver 83 social rent homes. These will be allocated within Block E, which has been specifically designed to provide 100% affordable social rented housing. Phase 2B, outline application, this will deliver 59 shared home ownership homes, which are allocated entirely to Block C1. Phase 2C of the outline application, this phase will deliver the remaining 62 affordable homes. The 27 social rent homes will be located in Block A, and the 35 shared ownership homes will be located in Block B1. Moving to the site's functionality, this is the delivery and servicing plan, ensuring that all operational activity is entirely self-contained within the site boundary. By utilising a managed one-way loop and dedicating loading laybys, shown in blue, the scheme ensures that the deliveries and refuse collection for all blocks take place away from the public highway. This strategy has been rigorously reviewed by the Highway Department during the consultation process. They have confirmed that the tracking for heavy goods and emergency vehicles is sufficient, and the layout effectively protects the local road network by preventing idling or reversing on Hook Rise South. This approach internalises the back of house needs, which maintains the capacity of the Tolworth roundabout while supporting a pedestrian-friendly environment within the development. The implementation of this plan is secured by condition, ensuring that the operational management of the site aligns with details provided in the application. Before concluding, there is a late item addressing representations received from agents acting on behalf of Tolworth depot operators. Their operation focuses on the agent of change principle, specifically raising concerns that the proximity of new residents could lead to noise complaints that might impact their 24/7 strategic operations. To provide the committee with comfort on this matter, I would like to highlight how this has been addressed. This issue has been front-loaded and rigorously analysed. Both the applicant's solicitor and an independent legal opinion obtained by the council conclude that because the development is designed with specific, high-specification acoustic protections, the risk of successful statutory nuisance claim against the depot operators is negligible. We have carefully reviewed the alternative conditions and legal clauses suggested in the first plan letter. These were specifically cross-checked by the council. However, it is our legal view that the conditions already drafted in your report are precise, enforceable, and provide a robust framework for long-term compliance than the alternatives proposed by the objector. The scheme relies on engineered solutions, including high-performance acoustic glazing and mechanical ventilation, to ensure internal noise levels remain within British standard limits. Furthermore, the Section 106 agreement requires resident welcome packs to ensure all occupiers are legally notified of the depot's 24/7 operations before moving in. While the objectors have requested the removal of certain or alteration of certain conditions, it is the professional view of the officers, supported by legal and acoustic advice, that the current suite of conditions and Section 106 obligations are entirely sufficient. In summary, the proposed framework strikes the next necessary balance. It delivers 965 homes on a major brownfield site while providing the legal and technical safeguards required to protect the borough's strategic industrial land. To conclude, this application is about optimizing a major brownfield gateway site. Kingston housing land supply currently stands at 1.48 years, which means the MPPF tilted balance is engaged. However, the proposal is not being recommended simply because of a numbers shortfall. It's been recommended because it is a high-quality scheme. The benefits are substantial. Housing is in terms of housing, it delivers 965 homes, over 200 more than the LAPS scheme, with a policy-compliant 35% affordable housing offer. When combined with the already completed Phase 1, the master plan delivers a total of 1,176 high-quality dwellings for the borough. In terms of the Section 106, beyond the initial 35%, a late-stage viability review has been secured. This ensures that if the development's profitability increase, the council has the legal mechanism to capture additional funds for more affordable housing. Section 106 also secures vital infrastructure, including contributions for CPZ investigations and implementation to protect neighbouring streets from parking stress, and funds for the Tolworth roundabout and station improvements. For the detailed phase, the Section 106 secures a total of $1,443,000 in fixed contribution, covering sustainable travel, carbon offset, NHS capacity, and local play space enhancements. It's important to note that further site-specific sums for employment and skills, as well as the carbon offset for future reserved matters, requests that the committee resolve to delegate authority to the Director of Planning and Infrastructure in place to be finalised through ongoing negotiations to ensure maximum local benefit. By using the height to reduce building footprints, it's enabled 70% biodiversity net gain and nearly double the community space of the previous plans. In the officer's view, the design is superior to the LAPS permission. It uses height as a tool to buy space, light, and connectivity that improves the scheme. For these reasons, it is recommended that planning permission be granted, subject to the conditions, delegated authority regarding the Section 106 and the Section 106 agreement itself outlined in your report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Colin. If you don't mind switching off your microphone for the time being. Thank you for that. So we'll come on to registered speakers. So first we have a couple of objectors who wish to speak. Firstly, a registered objector notified of the application by the letter of notification. I've got Mr. Manley, and then you'll have 5 minutes, and then we'll come on to Mrs. Walker afterwards. But Mr. Manley, yeah, thank you for coming forward. You have up to 5 minutes to speak. Yeah, when you're ready, if you turn on your microphone, when you start speaking, we'll start timing you. We'll let you know when you have 1 minute left. So I will hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the clients of Day Group, Wholesome UK and First Bus. They occupy the businesses at Tolworth Depot, located immediately to the south of Signal Park across the railway. I just wanted to point out first, I hope members have had a chance to have sight of our legal statement, which responds to the council note mentioned earlier, which was issued directly to members. That was submitted to the Planning Officer and Democratic Services on the 17th of March. Our clients' businesses form part of a strategic rail freight site, an operational bus depot. Their operations include, but not limited to, rail-served aggregates depot, a handling facility, a concrete batching plant, and a 24/7 bus maintenance and storage facility. Their businesses directly contribute to house building, growth, and sustainable transport infrastructure. Our clients don't resist the principle per se of a neighbouring housing scheme here. However, it is critical that the amenity of Tolworth's incoming residents will be protected. Together with our client's acoustic consultant, we have undertaken a detailed review of the submitted planning documents. At this stage, as we did before, we conclude that the proposed design would still fail to provide the new residents with a comfortable, high-quality living conditions that they are expecting from a new residential property. The developer's proposal includes openable windows to habitable rooms, which face directly onto the railway line and the Tolworth depot. Private balconies are also on the facade corners, and these are unprotected with no screening, no mitigation in terms of noise. There is an absence of essential noise mitigation needed to reduce the impact from the worst affected windows and balconies to an appropriate level. Kingston officers also still need further clarity on a number of technical items before they can assess this application, which we have set out in previous objections. We consider that this impact and technical ambiguity will amount to material harm upon the day-to-day lives of Tolworth's newest residents. These risks giving rise to noise complaints, which would have a significant impact upon our clients' businesses if their activities were then constrained. During 2023 and 24, our clients were involved in extensive discussions with the developers team in establishing noise survey data. This was very positive. However, the results of this survey were largely ignored, and the proposed building continues to include openable windows and unprotected balconies facing directly onto the railway line and the industrial operations happening beyond. Despite our best attempts, engagement requests were not accepted beyond August 2024, and no scheme changes were made. Accordingly, in January 2025, we objected to the planning application at Signal Park. In addition, following receipt of the agent of change note from the Developers Council, as mentioned before, more recently our clients instructed Broadfield solicitors, and we lodged a legal objection responding to the developer's agent of change note. This was sent in again on the 17th of March. Broadfield's legal statement, issued as late material, circulated by myself earlier, refuted the claims made by the developer's consultant and raised serious concerns regarding the application of the agent of change principles that all development must comply with. Chiefly, Broadfield's legal statement dismissed the relevance of the cited court cases and indeed the conclusions drawn in applying these to Signal Park, as it's a very different case. There is no guarantee that should a new resident action a noise nuisance claim, that this claim wouldn't be taken seriously by the council. Indeed, it would be very likely progressed, again, leading to restrictions against our clients. As such, the developer's approach would not protect Kingston Council from becoming embroiled in complex litigation as a result of such noise nuisance claims, nor would it safeguard our clients' lawful operations.
1 minute left, thank you.
Nor would it safeguard our clients' lawful operations from coming under pressure. We are very keen to work closely with the developer and Kingston officers to ensure that living conditions for the future residents are suitably protected. We hope that Signal Park is known as a sought-after high-quality development rather than one that suffers owing to an absence of sufficient noise mitigation from the lawful industrial operations to the south. We wish to collaborate on design revisions and suitable mitigation and ensure suitable mitigation is in place. But notwithstanding the above, should members wish to grant consent tonight, we strongly recommend as a minimum that our amended conditions and legal obligation amendments, which were submitted and have been circulated as late material, are attached to any consent. This is very important. Without these actions, we sustain our objection. Thank you, members, all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Manley. If I can ask you, if you mind turning off your microphone for this moment, take a seat back in the public gallery. There may be further questions for you due course, but thank you for your contribution. Can I invite Mrs. Walker? She can come forward, thank you. So you have, well, it's yourself and Mr. Ware, is that right? Yeah, but speak on behalf of Mr. Yeah. So yeah, if you can, take your seat when you're ready and turn on your microphone when you're ready if you want to start, and we'll start timing you when you start speaking. Again, you have 5 minutes. We'll let you know when you have 1 minute remaining. Over to you. Thank you, Mrs. Walker. I think it's the right button, I think. No, the red light will turn on. There you go.
Hello. Oh, that's better.
Ready to go. Thank you.
Right. Good evening, everybody. Some of you have met me before. My name is Bridget Walker, 43 years living on the Ewell Road in Surbiton, and this is Richard Ware for Chessington residents. We've combined. It's 19 years since focus groups agreed no higher than 5 stories on the site. Core strategy, protect the primarily suburban character of the borough. 600 homes for Tolworth, yet thousands have been approved. 160-year, 22-storey fragile, underused and for decades poorly maintained office block should not result in more tall buildings next to 2 3-storey houses. 705, 191 units were refused. Now it's 1,176, 318 units per hectare, the old system, which actually is 63.78% more units than in 2015. The London Plan D2 says where additional required infrastructure cannot be delivered, the scale of the development should be reconsidered to reflect the capacity of current or future planned supporting infrastructure. Tolworth doesn't have it for this dense development. Thames Water has identified an inability of the existing water network infrastructure. There's under-provision of on-site play areas, the capacity issues within the entire NHS healthcare infrastructure, and it's highly likely unable to accommodate more children in current schools. With Crossrail 2 not expected for decades, if ever due to finance, densification meant for central London will ruin Tolworth. Even 950 is too many now. Tolworth Station, 1 train every half hour, little providing a coach in perpetuity to get staff to Surbiton Station means it's not well connected. PTEL of 1A very poor. Who has 0.23 of a car? Our residential community will be substantially harmed if this application is approved. In 2015, Spen Hill and TfL discussed the site, saying it's unlikely anything could be developed until the introduction of Crossrail 2. Housing opportunity is very different from designated opportunity areas for up to 5,000 homes, such as Battersea. Kingston opportunity area boundaries are still to be defined, development heavily linked to the infrastructure improvements from Crossrail. It's very wrong and misleading to reference Kingston opportunity as confirmed when it isn't. The London Plan Consultation 25 stated it was clear many homes and jobs in OAs can only be realised if transport infrastructure is built. Where schemes were less certain or will only be delivered beyond the next decade, e.g. Crossrail 2, they would need to de-designate, and they, on figure 2.3 map, it says review, remove OA designation for Kingston. Site area. The net development area is 3.7, not 4.4. It's considerably smaller than the GLA officer's state, thus excessive heights, to make up the shortfall. Even in this report, 4.4 para 11, 4.1 para 73, and the local plan, TH9, states 3.987. The difference could be the size of a football pitch, making a huge detrimental difference to density. This application fails to respect policy DM10 in respect to tall buildings. The report notes that this proposal would change the area, not be sensitive or sympathetic to the character and history, and tries without success to describe justification for the significant impacts in Tolworth. We had a mid-2016 agreement that no blocks would be higher than 10 stories on this site. What happened to that? D9 says tall buildings should only be developed in locations that are identified as suitable in development plans. Kingston hasn't done that yet. We commented on the draft new local plan in 2019. Where is it? We'll still only have a draft building strategy November 23. So it's wrong to say increased height is in accord with the London plan. It's not. 5 blocks G19, H16, E15, G214, F214, 90 are higher than even in the strategy document, the draft, which was 12 and 17. The outline has one at 27.5 stories. Please. Daylight and sunlight is unacceptable. Policy guidance advises minimum separation of no less than 21 metres between habitable rooms. You've heard the applicant before me say there's too many buildings near the railway line. The applicant has crammed so many dwellings, the majority are under 18 metres, between 16 and 18 in detailed, or 11.5 and 18.
Sorry, 1 minute remaining, thank you.
Right, okay. So even the report says significant and moderate to major degree affecting sunlight. And now I've seen the plans, they're very small windows. Private amenity space in long balconies will also block light. When you have a development this dense, you'll inevitably have severe light issues. Right, so we come on to the noise and the air quality. We've heard all about the noise, but poor air quality from nitrogen dioxide levels has a proven detrimental impact on health. Additional traffic, construction dust will mean more people with life-limiting illnesses such as COPD and asthma. On the one hand, the paragraph 15 says natural ventilation through opening windows is an inherent benefit and will provide relief from overheating, but then we've heard that you have to have mechanical ventilation or you're going to be stuck with all the noise. No amount of mitigation can stop the harmful noise levels from the A3, Tolworth roundabout and the railhead. And the
Sorry,
railhead
you can
was
wrap
there
up now.
first.
Your time's up. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Please refuse it.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. If I can ask you to take your seats back in the public gallery. Thank you. Yeah. We'll now move to the applicant. I think we have Mr. Jamie Wilding will be speaking. I don't know if anyone else would like to come and join him, but if you would come forward. So you have up to 10 minutes. You don't have to use it all, but you have up to 10 minutes to speak. And yeah, when you start speaking, we'll start timing you and we'll let you know if we get to 1 minute remaining. I'll pass it over to you guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jamie Wilding. I'm the Development Director at Vistry West London region. I'm speaking this evening on behalf of the Signal Park LLP, the joint venture responsible for delivering this scheme, and I'm sharing the speaking responsibility with Ben Cook of Guinness Partnership. So I hand over to Ben shortly after I've spoken. Vistry is one of the UK's leading home builders, with a strong track record of working collaboratively with local authorities and housing partners to deliver high-quality, policy-compliant developments. At Signal Park, we're proud to be working alongside the Guinness Partnership, who successfully delivered phase 1 of this development. That phase has already provided 211 new homes, alongside high-quality public square and transport improvements, and is now an established and functioning community. Phase 1 demonstrates both the deliverability of this site and the quality of place that Signal Park can achieve. Members will be aware that this application has gone through a thorough and extensive pre-application process. Throughout that process, the project team has continued to work constructively with officers, statutory consultees and stakeholders to address technical matters and respond to feedback. That engagement has resulted in a scheme that has been fully tested through the planning process, and we appreciate the effort and hard work put in by officers to get to this stage. We have several members of our professional team here in attendance tonight to support and answering questions if required and appropriate. Signal Park is one of the largest vacant brownfield opportunities in the borough. The scheme has been designed as a landscape-led master plan integrating new homes with meaningful green space, clear pedestrian routes and local facilities. Planning policies at all levels not only support but actively encourages high-density housing on this land. The site is within the Kingston opportunity area, is suitable for tall buildings in the council's tall building strategy, and it has a previous planning permission. Both Guinness and Vistry are committed to places people can live and thrive in for the long term, and as such, when we formed our partnership, we asked ourselves whether the previous permission was the best place for now, or 50 or 100 years' time. The answer was clear to us that the planning permission could be improved significantly, as well as responding to important regulatory changes to fire safety and sustainability. There was an opportunity to improve the master plan itself for the benefit of people's lives. Amongst the key changes are increased amenity space and public realm. The green spine has been expanded in area and quality. Buildings are now configured to increase sunlight penetration to the public realm and protect residents from noise. There are wider separation distances between buildings. Play spaces are provided where previously there was none. And as part of the landscape-led approach, there is a biodiversity net gain of over 70%. Meanwhile, energy efficiency measures are far superior to those previously permitted. Unlike the previous permission, there are no single aspect north-facing homes. Building materials have been chosen not only for their aesthetic reasons, but also for longevity. Meanwhile, Guinness's own housing team have brought their practical management expertise to ensure the resident experience endures over time. In short, there's been a lot of thought to put into these proposals to ensure that it will be a great place to live. In conclusion, Signal Park represents a major opportunity for Tolworth and for the borough as a whole. It will deliver a substantial number of new homes, including a significantly increased proportion of affordable housing. It builds on the clear success of Phase 1, and it will create a well-designed, sustainable neighbourhood on a highly accessible brownfield site. We respectfully ask members to support the officer recommendation and resolve to grant planning permission this evening. Thank you, Chair and members, for your time and consideration. I'll now hand over to Ben.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm Ben Cook. I'm the Development Director South for the Guinness Partnerships. Since acquiring the site in 2019, we have built out 211 homes on the first phase. Of this original planning permission, those units were meant to be market housing, but we turned them into affordable housing using the GLA grant. We're pursuing the new planning consent for the remainder of the site to react to changing standards and to make improvements. We've not shied away from the independent design review, exposing the scheme to 3 separate reviews as part of our pre-application process. The public consultation commenced in June 2023, and over 3,200 homes and businesses in the surrounding areas were invited to exhibitions, webinars, prior to the submission of the application. As a result of those discussions, we made changes to the application. For example, the building heights, the location of the community centre, the look and feel of the buildings, and the links through to St George's Fields. The GLA have welcomed the new master plan, and there are no statutory objections to the application. This is favourable when compared to the previous permission and reflects the extensive public consultation and engagement that have helped us shape the proposals. The Guinness Trust was founded in 1890 to improve people's lives and provide opportunities. This is exactly what this planning application seeks to do. The application before you improves upon the previous permission in terms of design quality, ecology, landscaping, sustainability, and affordable housing provision. And crucially, it is deliverable and will be delivered by the joint venture partners. If approved tonight, the Signal Park development will be at the heart of the London Social and Affordable Housing Programme submission to the GLA by ourselves, and will be delivered through that programme by Guinness. We have delivered and will be providing 2,087 affordable homes as part of the first 2 strategic partnerships with the Greater London Authority, of which Phase 1 is 211. Also, last year, our development partners, Countryside Vistry, delivered 1 in 7 affordable homes across the country. Their construction expertise has shaped the proposal, meaning that the master plan can be rapidly become a practical reality. Therefore, I hope, therefore, you can support the officer's recommendation to approve the application and turn this vision into reality. Thank you very much, Chair and members.
Thank you both. Thank you. If I could ask you to take your seats back in the public gallery. We might come back to you again if we have any questions from members. Finally, I'd like to ask Councillor Grocott, in her capacity as a local ward councillor, to come forward to speak. You have I'm sure you know the drill by now. You have up to 5 minutes to speak. We'll start timing you when you start speaking, and we'll let you know if once you get to 1 minute remaining, if you get that far. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So, as you said, I'm speaking tonight as one of the ward councillors for King George's and Sunray Ward, which is the ward where Signal Park development is located. Although I support the opinions of local residents for the need for developments that provide new homes for local Kingston residents, including affordable housing, and developments that will boost our local economy, I wish to speak on one of the main concerns that other local residents have spoken to me about regards this new phase in the development, specifically the lack of parking provided in phase 2. 965 new dwellings are proposed in this phase with no additional parking spaces provided and very few additional shared car schemes introduced. Now, I am aware that this is not due to Kingston Council's planning policies, but to Labour's Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London's policies to curb car ownership. Over 60% of new London housing developments with 10 or more homes are approved as car-free developments, i.e. only 5% or fewer parking spaces per unit need to be provided by developers. However, local residents, particularly those living in Hookrise South, Donaldwood Gardens, and the nearest roads on the Sunray estate, are already feeling the additional pressure on parking in the area from the Phase 1 development, where most of those residents also had no designating parking spaces provided. I would therefore like the committee to consider the following points. We would like the developers to make it explicitly clear in their publicity material and sales pitches for new buyers or renters that the Phase 2 flats will have absolutely no parking facilities available for new residents. We would also like to ask if the developers have considered options for these residents to park in nearby facilities if they do have cars. For example, have they had discussions with a little company to see if their nearby multi-storey car park could have spaces to rent in evenings or weekends? We would also like the committee to ascertain how many new shared car schemes or parking spaces are allocated to this new phase. Although parking is obviously a practical issue, it has had social and moral implications for the current residents of Signal Park. As the committee will be aware, placemaking is about people, not just buildings. Some Signal Park residents have spoken to me about their awareness of the negative sentiment from other residents living locally towards them, purely because of the pressure on parking spaces. This is not a feeling that I would want any new residents to be experiencing who move into our local area, especially because of a lack of parking or pressure on parking spaces. So my request to the committee is to consider both the social implications from the lack of parking spaces in this Phase 2 development, as well as the practical pressure it is putting on available parking in the local neighbourhood, and seriously consider implementing my 2 suggestions and request for information as specific conditions if this planning application is passed. It is also of note that from my many conversations with the local residents over the last 4 years, CPZs are not the preferred parking solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Grocott. If I can ask you to take your seat back in the public gallery. So we will move on to questions. So, firstly, do we have any questions for the objectors? Yeah, we have at least one. Okay, so we could ask the objectors. So if you come together. So, Mr. Manley, Mrs. Walker, if you both can come forward, please. So we'll have up to 5 minutes for questions. So sorry, I had before we start, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Waring. Anyone else? Okay, let me know if anyone else has any questions. So I'll go to Councillor Henderson first, and we'll start now. Thank you.
Okay, I think this is a question for Mr. Manley, if I remembered your name correctly. Yes. Okay. Just a quick question. Have you received any complaints from Phase 1 residents about the noise from the yard?
I think, I might divert to one of the applicant, our client, Phil Orst here from Day Group. But no.
Thank you. Councillor Waring?
Yeah, just very quickly to Ms Walker, I think. Councillor Grocott referenced pressure on parking in the surrounding roads from phase 1. I wondered if you could give me sort of any more information that any of you have on that, please.
You were parking. I did.
Are you asking for someone else to come up? Sorry, we've got limited time. Yeah, I think it's asking you. Sorry, I think it's asking you, Mrs. Walker, or Mr. Ware, if you've got any comments on the parking situation.
It's okay if you haven't got any comments, but I just wondered if you had any.
I've not done anything on parking because Councillor Grow was doing parking. So I would only say, from living on the Ewell Road, and since the introduction of cycle lanes, which has nothing to do with this, and extra yellow lines, it is quite tricky for anybody. We can't have visitor parking, so it goes all the way along. It's all the side roads. So if we're affected, they must be affected on the roundabout. All right, and if you have thousands more people, I don't know where the cars go. At the moment, people are parking on the Ewell Road. They're going over the pavement and parking on roads, on bits that they shouldn't do. All right, that's up to parking enforcement, but they'll find a space, you know. And,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walker.
quite bad.
Thank you.
I usually say very little about transport studies because they're so biased and prejudiced that they're not worth the paper they're written on. One example in here I give is that there was a statement made when there was 0.75 of a car, 0.75 of a car parking space, and then they just mentioned the bus stopover. They haven't done a survey that it's, you know, it's going to be a wonderful thing, and then they say, right, because there's a bus layover, then we would knock it down to 0.25 or something like that. They just do it themselves.
Okay.
So it's a load of rubbish.
Okay, I think, yeah, you made your point. Thank you. So just where we've got limited time, but I think you've made your point clearly. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, can I just quickly add to my point before, in terms of kind of just very quickly, but I guess in terms of the objections, no at the moment, but we just need to think about, you know, the length of this development and kind of the location of the detailed stage, which, you know, is the one which has been built at the moment and where we've got residents living in there. That's Block H, G3 and G2. I mean, I'm sure members have got the phasing plan to understand. You know, an important point about that is that the bus depot, the bus repair garage, which has 24/7 lawful operation to, you know, make repairs, rev up the engines, all lawfully, you know, to make sure that the, you know, 6 a.m. buses, 5 a.m. buses arrive on time to pick up residents. That is at the further end of the development, say, more in relation to some of the later phases. That is important because if you allow, say, the detailed elements, you know, when you come down to kind of reserve matters and other details, the precedent has already been set to have these balconies and openable windows. So that argument is going to be used later down the line.
Okay.
You need to set off, you know, a good precedent from the start, really.
Thank you. Councillor Giles, if you could
Thank you.
possible.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is to the day group as well. Given that the noise levels seemingly can be managed with appropriate glazing, ventilation, cooling, are you reassured at all by what the case officer said regarding a strengthened Section 106 around the welcome pack, around those extra conditions in place to alert new residents of the conditions?
I think in short, no. The conditions that have been put forward are weaker than what was even allowed, say, on the detailed phase. You know, first time we've been involved on trying to work with the developers at the site for the last 8 years or more, and working with Day before that as well. But in terms of the conditions that have been put forward, these are even weaker than what was on an original consent, I think back in 2016. We put forward a detailed schedule of proposed amendments. One of the amendments, you know, picks up a couple of typos, which...
So, sorry, we're coming to the end of time now.
Yeah, sorry, but no, in short, you know, we have provided, you know, a detailed revision, and has been, you know, and
you.
legal opinion in relation to the obligations.
Thank you. Sorry, that's time. I think you've made your point. Thank you very much. You answered the question. Apologies, Councillor Sajurashimi, Councillor Green. We didn't have time for your questions. If I can ask you all to take your seats back in the public gallery, please. Thank you. And if I can ask the applicants to come. Well, do we have questions for the applicants? Yes. Councillor Green, Councillor Waring, Councillor Sajurashimi. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone. So I've got Councillor Sajurashimi, Councillor Green, Councillor Waring, Councillor Giles. Anyone else? Let me know, please. So, Councillor Sajurashimi, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask you whether you have considered car clubs and giving some spaces to car clubs within your system. If you have, what's the outcome? If you haven't, why?
I'll tell you that one, if I may say. I work for WSP. We are the transport consultants working on the project. So there are 3 car club spaces already on the sites associated with Phase 1. There'll be an additional 4th car club space provided with Phase 2A. We are monitoring the usage of those car club spaces with the operators. And generally they will not agree to put additional car club spaces in until demand has reached a certain level in terms of usage of the existing car club bays. But hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Councillor Green.
Yes, you've heard the arguments in terms of the agent for change, both from our officer and then from the representative of the Tolworth depot grouping. I just wanted to hear more about why you think this does overcome the potential issue of both noise and pollution from the sites opposite on the railway line.
Hi there, just to introduce myself, my name is Richard Patel from Sphere 25, planning consultant on the scheme. So the acoustic design of the development will ensure the suitable internal and external noise levels are achieved across the development. This includes no residential balconies facing Tolworth depot, enhanced performance glazing and mechanical ventilation, meaning there should be no need to have openable windows. And primary living room facades have been designed to not directly face noise-sensitive areas. It is anticipated that planning conditions securing acoustic performance of the development will be included within the planning permission, as you've seen. And in addition, as part of the residents' welcome pack, full details of consented operations, the Tolworth depot site will be provided to future occupants of the development. In summary, I would draw your attention to the officer's response in your papers, which we would fully concur with. The objector raises to our consideration no new considerations that are already covered within the report. Nonetheless, officers have delegated authority to fine-tune the wording of those conditions and would be happy to discuss those further with the officer in due course.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Waring.
Thank you, Chair. 2 questions from me. First one, have you had any discussions with Little HQ about the possibility of renting parking spaces in their multi-storey overnight and or at weekends?
No, we haven't. And whilst I appreciate the idea and where it's coming from, the reality is it would actually, I believe, lead to more problems rather than less, because sharing parking with an office building means the residents who would have access to that parking would only have part-time access to that parking facility. They wouldn't be able to utilise it during office standard working hours. So where would they park their cars at that time? Ultimately, they'd be forced to then try and find additional parking space on street, which would then exacerbate the on-street parking problems. So in reality, I think whilst I see some benefits, I think the reality is that simply wouldn't work, be a workable solution in practice.
Again, yep.
Thank you. Then my next question is about I'm slightly concerned about the bulking of the affordable housing, particularly the social rent housing units in individual blocks. Did you explore pepper potting these rather than potentially facing the accusation of having poor doors on the site?
The reason why we bring our homes together in blocks in the way that which are depicted in the application is so we can manage those blocks effectively and create the environments that are needed for the tenures within those buildings. So we believe Block E is a very, very high quality building. It's the only building on the site that's got all dual aspect homes within it. We believe it's the key gateway to the development. So we're content and happy with that being used for the tenure it's designed for. And the remainder of the blocks are spread out through the development, so there is a pepper potting of the affordable homes through the development itself. But we wouldn't take on the management of buildings where the homes are pepper potted within the single blocks, because it becomes very difficult to manage, unfortunately. On our registered provider who looks after 72,000 homes across the country, we do have expertise about how to try and look after our homes and our customers.
Unfortunately, we've got 5 seconds left, Councillor Giles, so I think we might have to pass on your question. Okay, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of the questions. Thank you, everyone. If you can take your seats back in the public gallery. Thank you. So I'm just going to pass it back to Colin. If there's anything you wanted to add, can I sweep up any points you wanted that were raised that you want to address? Hand it over to you, and then we'll move it open. We'll open it to questions from members. Over to you, Colin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the agent of change principle, rather than me sort of repeating exactly what I've said before, we're quite content that the conditions and the Section 106 secure the protection that the depot requires. And we've had that legally tested with our own independent legal opinion on that. So yeah, we're quite happy with the agent of change. In terms of car parking, it's a car light scheme. We're securing money for CPZs. I hear that the ward councillor doesn't think CPZs are the way forward, but that's our highway section are happy with that. TfL are happy with that, and we've secured 882,000 towards that in the Section 106. Regarding the tall building strategy, we believe that the London Policy D3 states that we should maximise the potential of high accessibility brownfield sites. Policy D9 is compliant. Height is used to create a vertical marker as a major gateway using high quality materials and articulation to avoid monolithic massing. So I think in terms of the objection from Mrs. Walker, I think our presentation and our committee report completely justifies the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Colin. Okay, if I could open it up for questions. Councillor Green, then Councillor Davies, Councillor Waring, George, okay.
Thanks. I'm going to come back to the agent of change elements. One of the things that I think it was just now in response to the question that the applicant said is there is no reason to open the windows facing that site because of the ventilation system. So is there a reason we're not recommending that those are non-openable windows, which I think would overcome at least some of the concerns that the Tolworth depot have? That's the first part of the question.
Chair, those details are wrapped up in the conditions, and that they have to provide that information before commencing.
Sorry, what? I'm saying, could we insist that they are non-openable windows So a condition that says those windows facing the railway line will be non-openable.
You could use a condition like that, but those conditions are already there in terms of they have to provide those details. So we can look at those as non-openable windows.
Yes, but if we don't say we want them to be non-openable at this committee, you could look at them and go, they're openable, that still meets the conditions. That's my point. I appreciate you're hearing what we're saying, but I'd like to tie it up in conditions, but I understand where you are on that. Also related to it, I mean, telling residents in their welcome pack's a bit nonsense. They've just bought a house, a flat, or rented. So I think that would need to go in the marketing material as opposed to, could we put it in the conditions in the such that it has to be in the marketing material rather than when they've already purchased or agreed to rent accommodation, at which point it's a bit late, really.
Absolutely. If the committee are minded to approve this application, then that's something that you could take a vote on and resolve for that to be conditioned.
Sorry, Councillor Green, maybe just for my benefit, putting what specifically in the marketing material about the windows?
That the operations on the other side of the railway line are legal operations that operate 24 hours a day, every day of the... I have no idea if they have Christmas Day off or not, but that's detail. Actually, no, there's no buses, so they must have Christmas Day off, I would think, Boxing Day. However, what you would put in the marketing material is that this operation takes place the other side of the railway line as a licensed legal activity that does generate noise and fumes. So, however you word it, and I'm sure it wouldn't be worded like that in the marketing material, but it makes clear this is a legal activity that takes place on that site, and that will be continuing even if you purchase your flat and don't like it. I'm sure marketing people can come up with better phrasing. Then the third question I had was on the balconies. So obviously there's no balconies that directly front onto that, so that they're side on, but I'm wondering why it's not considered that you would have some kind of acoustic screening on the side element of the balcony. So as you step out, if the railway line is running there, as you step out onto your balcony, particularly the ones that are right next to the railway line, that side would have some kind of acoustic. I think you can get acoustic that sort of curves it back round so it bounces off noise. And whether that would be something that could be suitable again, so people are able to use a balcony. Not much point in providing a balcony if they can't use it 24/7. So they'd be able to use it with minimal noise coming. I don't know whether that's been considered.
It makes complete sense, so much sense that I think it's already in the report somewhere. I think there's I think there's a diagram of that in the report, but that for the side-facing ones, they have acoustic screenings so that yeah.
So what you're saying, sorry, it is in the, well, could we get some clarity on that, or was it something we could condition, or would it need to be in the report already, sorry?
It's already part of the application, Chair.
Okay, we're getting disagreements from the public gallery. We're not really supposed to have interventions from the public gallery. It'd be good to get some clarification on that, if you can maybe have a look in between answers, or if one of the other officers may have a look and come back, so we can get some clarification on what is there, what's not, and maybe if we want to address that. But if we can come back to, was that we'll ask a couple of other officers to look into that while we carry on with questions. I think you were done, Councillor Green? I take it you are. She's not listening to me, so we'll move on. Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Chair. Colin, you kept saying many times that you were buying, or the applicants were buying space at ground level with height. Is this not just an excuse to add an extra 226 more homes to the site? I'm not familiar enough with the previous application and what's already been granted planning permission. So could you explain where the 226 extra flats come from?
Essentially for more height. So there are been additional floors added to this. The floor plate has got smaller, but the buildings have got taller. And in taking advantage of additional height, they've achieved 226 extra units over the approved scheme, the previously approved scheme.
Okay, you follow up? Yes, Councillor.
It's a sort of supplementary. How do the residents of Phase 1 feel about believing one number of people were going to come and now they find another 226 lots of people are going to come?
I'm not sure if that,
Have they been consulted?
I don't know if you'll be able to answer that, but I'll call it over to you.
Chair, I can't answer that, sorry.
I think that's fair enough, but you've kind of made a rhetorical point. Is there no more questions? Councillor Waring.
Thank you, Chair. Colin, it's probably quite an existential question, but it's all Miss Walker's fault. She referenced previous agreements about this site, stating sort of the maximum heights that would be considered acceptable here. What does Miss Walker mean?
I can't give you that detail about the previous scheme and whether there was agreements or not, but I can say that each application is considered on its own merits, and we consider that the additional height and the additional green space around the buildings is satisfactory.
Thank you. Then my next question, I'm going to lean into your expert opinion here, because I've no idea how you make an applicant go and talk to a private company that's got car parking space on its site nearby to investigate anything there. The applicant hasn't, which I understand. Is there anything we can actually include in this to allow those kind of conversations to be held? Because I don't agree with the applicant at all about the associated difficulties he perceives would happen.
Just taking legal advice, and it appears that we could do something in Section 106 to encourage them to investigate that parking arrangement.
Thank you, and thank you for the advice. Let me chew on that for a while. I'll come back to you on it. Thank you.
So sorry on that. That's not that's a recommendation as opposed to a condition. So it's a slightly different approach. It's kind of encouraging rather than compelling, I guess, from what you're saying.
Well,
so if you're we'll come back to on that point. Well, I don't know if you actually it was kind of a legal question as well. So I don't know if the legal. I forgot. Sorry, you did introduce yourself, Mr. Khan. If you could quickly introduce yourself. So you if you want to introduce yourself to the committee, because we haven't had a legal representative before the meetings. We do now, and so yeah, if you'd like to quickly introduce yourself, please. Thank you. Or if necessary, you can use Tim's. You need to really be in the microphone so it picked up by the audio. But yeah, if you speak to Tim's microphone, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mustafa Khan. I am from the South London Legal Partnership, and I am a solicitor, and I will be, if there are any legal questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So, yeah, okay, thank you.
As we have at the moment. So just on that, so I see your hand, Councillor Giles, come to you in a second. Just on that point about, negotiating or approaching a private company about, well, in this case, Lidl, about car parking. You're saying we can put essentially an informative rather than a condition. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, we can either do it by way of an informative, or we could do it as an obligation. We could put it in. Yeah, so we could definitely do that. The only thing is technically this is a car light development, and it is referable to the mayor. And as there are certain London plan policies, so they might raise an issue with it. If it was a an obligation. I mean, I'm not saying they will, but in terms of policy, this is why this is practically a car-free one with the CPZ contributions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I myself will have
just
some.
add that caveat, but we could certainly put it in either as an informative, or we could add it as a heads of terms to the planning obligation.
Thank you. And we could discuss that a bit. I think, I have potentially some concerns about making it an obligation. But Councillor Wang, on this point, I presume?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for that, Mustafa. You've just described exactly the internal battle I'm wrestling within my head about this. So let me chew on that, and I'll come back in the comments. But thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Councillor Giles.
Thank you very much, Chair. My first one is just a technical question, if I may. The report makes regular reference to the fact it's a 4.4 hectare site. But if I look at our 2023 SHLA, Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment, it's referenced in there as being a 3.99 hectare site. And so I just wondered if there could be some clarity, please, just on the size of the site, just because there's a discrepancy.
Thank you, Colin. Yeah.
Chair, I would have to check this exactly, but I don't think the northeast section was involved in the SHLA, but I would have to check that.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if we're happy with that. We can ask the other officers to double check and confirm that. Okay. Thank you.
And sorry, if I may, then another then. I want to go back to the bus depot again, if I may, because we've heard. So I didn't realise there was a legal officer here. So we heard earlier in the presentation, we've had legal advice. The legal advice says we're fine. But I would appreciate, if possible, just hearing from our legal eagle that's here, just around how, if at all, conditions can be strengthened around this, because I do have some sympathy with the bus depot in there saying that they don't want, obviously, for there to be noise complaints, which could then restrict their operations. And so whilst hearing we've had legal advice is great, obviously I haven't had sight of that legal advice as a member of this committee. And so I would appreciate just hearing from them, given they're in attendance. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. I think that's, for you, Mr. Khan, is that if you can, I don't know, are you able to, is that something you can comment on, please?
The actual legal advice was sought by Shoesmiths. My understanding is condition 19, which colleagues in planning have put in, deals with the issues around sound insulation. I can't speak on that particular legal advice. I've had a look at the legal advice sought from the depot, but I haven't read the Shoesmiths one. But my understanding is that both under the obligations, the planning obligations, and it's condition 19, I'm pretty sure because I just read it, deals with sound mitigation efforts. But I couldn't speak to the specific legal advice obtained from Shoesmiths because I haven't seen it. But I'm pretty sure we have dealt with by way of conditions. I'm pretty sure it's condition 19, which deals with sound mitigation. Colleagues in planning can just come in as well. Which specifically requires. I mean, the short of it, I didn't prepare.
It wasn't your advice. It was a different
I've read
organisation.
the report, and I speak on the basis of that report. So I'm afraid that's probably the best I can do at this point. Yeah.
It might be better. Well, I don't know. Sorry, Councillor Giles, just picking up what you said. Sorry, if you don't mind turning off the microphone. In terms of the officers, then, what you, Colin, or any of the others, just to speak to that. Obviously, you're kind of your view on the legal advice that we've got and just the robustness of that. If you can just comment on that, given the concerns that have been raised, if you can speak to that point, please. Obviously, you seem to be happy given the report, but if you can just justify that and speak to some of the objections that we've heard around the noise issue.
Chair, again, without just absolutely repeating myself, is that we've had legal advice. Legal advice says that the mechanisms that we're putting in place will protect the depot and will the potential for complaints are negligible. That's all I can sort of say in terms of repeating myself. But as officers, we are comfortable that the conditions that we're using and the mitigation in the Section 106 will protect the depot's operation from noise complaints.
Thank you, Colin. Do you have any? Councillor Henderson, and then we've got a couple more. Yeah.
Just to the other point that Councillor Grocott raised was being very explicit in the marketing material that there aren't any car parking spaces. Is that something that we can put in as a condition to make sure that the marketing material, when the flats are being sold, is explicit and transparent and clear and not misleading in any way?
Chair, that would be an addition to the Section 106 with the materials in there. And I believe that this committee has used that on previous applications. So very happy to reword the Section 10 agreement to incorporate that.
Thank you, Councillor Sajarashimi.
Thank you, Chair. I just got two questions. The small one. Your mitigation in Section 106 is only informative. You're just informing them of these things, right? There's no legal issue that they cannot complain about the sound. Is that correct?
It doesn't stop them from complaining if they want to complain, but their complaint is reduced because of their awareness of taking that property on in the first place.
So going to Mr. Afghan, yes, sorry. I don't know enough about the legal issue. Can we actually impose an issue to say that these premises cannot complain about the sound, or we cannot take their right away from them?
No, we can't, because there's clear nuisance legislation. I mean, what I would say is, I think, in terms of the marketing, there is the principle, buyer beware, and that's the principle. But can we stop someone from complaining? No, we can't, because that's dealt with separately under nuisance legislation. So no, we can't. No.
So back to the officer. Mr. Manley said that they have a consent to be attached. They've given you a legal document that they want attached. Have you looked at that document in detail and say, yeah, we can attach this?
So was that in terms of the noise? And that you said that, yes, they have supplied their interpretation of conditions that they want us to put on, and also changes to the Section 106. But as officers, we're content that the conditions that we're using and the mitigation in the Section 106 will secure protection for the depot.
Just as a PR, I don't understand why you wouldn't have discussed with them in more detail why you're convinced and convinced them that you are convinced, or they convince you that you're not convinced, right? You cannot just say, okay, no. Anyway, my second question, so I'll just leave that for now. I'm worried about the infrastructure, not of parking, because we definitely need to move towards a less car usage. But I'm worried about Tolworth Station. We're putting another 2,000 people in here, more or less. Have you spoken to TfL? What is TfL's view on the increase in the number of people that will be using that, especially in rush hours?
Yeah, TfL have been consulted. They're happy. There is money there in terms of improvements to the station. So, yeah, the TfL don't have an objection to that.
Okay, so you have spoken to TfL. Okay. What about NHS? What about doctors or the education, about the schools? Have you spoken to those?
Yeah, in the section 106, there's a contribution to NHS. They've requested a contribution. That's in the section 106. The NHS have not objected to the application.
And schools?
Again, there's a contribution, I believe, for education, or can you leave the education one with me, just so I can go through that? Thank you.
Or if the other officers want to kind of locate what that contribution is and can feed that back to Colin. While we're waiting for that, Councillor Secretary Shimi, I think you're done. If we can, have you got the information? Yeah.
In terms of education, there was no request for money for education.
Sorry, is that after consultation they didn't want any money?
Correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Waring.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure who's running the show on the presentation on the screens. Fiona, that might be you, I'm not sure. Could you just bring up the slide that showed the split of tenure on the proposed new site for me, please? Is that possible? Thanks. Sorry, it sounds like I'm sort of just loading things up for a big drum roll. What I'd like to know is what's the proposed tenure for those blocks that are nearest to the depots where the noise will emanate from?
Yeah, speak it. Sorry, if you turn the microphone on when you're speaking. Sorry, Colin. Thank you.
Yeah, there is no affordable along the railway line. That's all market housing. But yeah, just if you bear with me. Sorry.
Don't worry, I mean, I'll take your word for it as long as that's definitely the case. You don't have to bring up the slides in that case.
Yeah, if you turn off your microphone, sorry, Colin.
So it's private tenure, private sale for those properties that are likely to be affected. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, if you could turn off your microphone, Colin. Sorry. Thank you. I've turned on the microphone. Anyone have got any more questions? Councillor George. Oh, sorry.
Thanks. I've got a few, unfortunately. Yeah, the point that's been made about protecting the depot, and I think we've got to accept the, legal opinion that we've been given, I presume that this will protect the depot. However, you've also got to protect the residents, and who will have to live there, whether they're private buyer or not. So this is probably quite a bog standard question, really. We're talking about whether they can open windows or not. They can shut the windows and it'll be taken over by mechanical ventilation. What actually does that mean? Is that something electric, or is that just something built in that allows air through? Thanks.
There's different forms of mechanical ventilation. There's passive mechanical ventilation, and there is electric ventilation with built-in heat recovery. I'm not sure of the details on what has been proposed. And again, there's a condition that secures that, so we can get the exact details for that.
Thanks. I mean, I must say, I would have quite liked to know that, because I think it's quite a big deal when you're saying we're going to build these new homes and you're not going to be able to open your windows, and we don't quite know what's going to be put in place to stop that. Just going on to the balcony screening. I mean, I must admit, I've been through the report and trying to find where that is. 21.16. Says that balconies would feature on elevations facing the railway and the A3, and the proposed balconies on Block E are inset to provide screening from the adjacent noise sources. So that's not quite what I was expecting, but is that correct?
I'm still trying to find those diagrams that show the screening to the balconies.
Okay, I'll move on then. So the ward councillor mentioned about the low parking numbers, and I think I don't want to misquote her. She said that she'd like to see more, but that the London Mayor wouldn't allow such a thing. Now, reading through the report, it's quite complicated actually, because it does talk about the previous application and then this application, and in part of it, it says it's talking about meeting that we've met the minimum necessary parking required. So does that mean that they actually could have more parking if wanted to, and that there may be a discouragement from there, are the numbers here, as we were told, do they meet what the GLA will allow? Thank you.
Well, the GLA are pushing for car-free schemes totally, so no cars at all. So the provision of some car parking is good, but that has to be weighed up against the loss of community space, open space, and I think this scheme hits the right balance of providing some car parking for the scheme.
Okay, I thought there were maximum GLA standards. Is that not the case in this instance, or has that changed?
I believe this is below the maximums.
Okay, thank you. Also, I was going to ask the applicants actually about, because they were talking about the car share club, and they were keeping records of how much they used. Do we know who runs the car share club there? Because I know in many places around the borough they've actually stopped because Zipcar's gone out of business, and there seems to be trouble getting funding from the GLA. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I understand that Zipcar is no longer, but I'm not sure who's running the car club on this scheme.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Sedra Ashimi.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mrs. Walker, I think, brought up Thames Water. Can you please tell me whether you've discussed it with, I forgot Thames Water as one of the infrastructure ones, whether you've spoken with them, whether they put any conditions, or what is the outcome of discussions with Thames Water?
I know that Thames Water have been consulted. They've asked for a number of conditions to be added to the list, which they have been. There's three conditions which Thames Water have asked for. So we've satisfied Thames Water in terms of their views.
Thank you. Just before we carry on, just for the purposes of the debate, and before we move into the debate section, I would like to move the motion that we have in front of us. The motion is to approve the development. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Waring. Thank you very much. So I'll open it up now. So if anyone has any comments to make and any further questions, please do raise your hand. Councillor Green.
A bit quick, sorry. So I want to talk about the design of it, and the reason I haven't asked the officer the question because we have had a email communication about it, and I understand it's gone through different designs. I still think the blocks, I quite like Block E as a design I'm talking about, but the blocks H, G, 3 and 2, they appear very monolithic to me. I know they were described that way by the design review officer, but the planning officer assures me that they have gone through reviews since then. And I do have worries about that, particularly if this is then the style that's obviously going to be repeated in G1 and whatever's next to it, F, thank you, along the railway line. And I worry that they're going to look very blocky. Yes, thank you. I'm sure there's a technical planning term for it, but blocky is in my language, or monolithic and just there. So I just wanted to raise that. I'm not sure whether I think in my head at the moment that is enough to refuse this application. But I wanted to make sure I raised it, and I'm very interested in what other people think. I asked the questions earlier about the conditions that could be put on. So if the committee ends up permitting it, I would like to see those conditions about the barriers on the balconies, telling residents in the marketing material, yes, about the CPZ, about they don't bring your car, but also about the legal operations of the site, the other side of the railway line, and non-operable windows, if the committee gets to the point where it's looking to approve. My initial comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So it's just on those, sorry, on that point, the barriers or screening on the balconies, it looked like had you found something in the design around that, or no? I saw you looking at the papers.
I don't believe it is anywhere in the report, because I did read the report. I do miss bits in the report, I will, hands up, but I don't remember seeing anything about barriers on the balcony in the report or in the drawing.
Yeah, Colin.
Chair, there are so many documents with this application. I know it's in there somewhere, but I can't find the document that it's in. But I will carry on looking for that.
To say, sorry, Chair, if I may, just to say, it doesn't hurt if it's already there for us to put it in the conditions. There are so many documents with this, and I have not gone through every drawing that you will have had to go through. If it's already there and we put it in the condition, it's fine. If we don't put it in as a condition and then it isn't there in that detail, then I think we've got a problem. So I hope the officer would agree that it doesn't hurt to add it, even if it's already there.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds sensible. Is that what? Yeah.
I agree with that, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Next, I've got Councillor Waring.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm going to sound like a stuck record here talking about the marketing, and Councillor Green's given me a little bit of a warm-up on that. Colin, if we can get it into the conditions, or at very worst, the strongest possible informative, that the marketing material must lay out very, very clearly that there is no car parking associated with moving into this property. And if you can also get an informative, I'm not sure how we do this, because it's an internal informative to the housing department to ensure that when they're allocating the social housing to tenants, those tenants are made aware. Because we've had occasions recently where allocations onto new sites, the council tenant hasn't been notified that parking doesn't come with it. So I'd like that base covered as well, because I don't necessarily believe the widely held theory that people will move into these properties and they will need cars. First and foremost, if the marketing material is robust enough to make it clear that there is no parking with that, why would you buy a place if you needed parking? So I would like that marketing to be as robust as possible, please. On the little side of things, I got sensed very strongly from the applicant that there isn't too much appetite on having that conversation there. And to be honest, it probably doesn't necessarily need the applicant involved if and or when further down the line, sort of parking becomes an issue that this could be the solution for. It could be a very short conversation and the answer from Lidl is no. But that conversation could be had by the ward councillors, because it would be a separate arrangement between the resident and or Lidl, maybe on a sort of a wholesale thing. So I think I don't think we're going to get anywhere on forcing two parties, one of which is the applicant, the other one is Lidl, to have a conversation about it. I think it's something that the ward councillors should have a little bit more agency in as well. So yeah, it's a brownfield site. It's in the right location. It is change, but it's all about the mitigating conditions that we add around it, is where I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Giles.
Thanks. I mean, look, I'm still a tad concerned around this agent of change stuff with the site and around the windows. You know, I've heard that we've had legal advice. I haven't had sight of that. I had sight of an email that was sent in very late this afternoon, obviously, from the day group and the depot, and obviously they've spoken here this evening. But I've still got concerns around just exactly how we best mitigate that, because what I don't want to see is people moving in and then there being noise complaints, or we end up approving and the windows do end up opening. There just seems to me to be a lot of unanswered questions around that. And so I'm just a tad uncomfortable. And I know there's a few other things. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of documents in this, but there's probably a few other things that others have raised where there are still things going on. And so for me personally, I would prefer that we perhaps defer this application so we can, as members of the committee, get some more clarity on these affairs, and also give time, I would hope, for the applicant to speak to the day group, to the bus depot, and see if an arrangement can be sought so as the two aren't in dispute with one another. The committee may not have appetite for that, but that would certainly be, for me personally, my preferred outcome this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. Anyone else? Yes, yes, Councillor Green.
Just to come back on that, I don't agree with the deferral personally, because I think we could read the legal advice from our solicitors and we can read the legal advice from the Tolworth depot solicitors. I'm not legally trained. If they tell me this case versus that case is right or wrong, I don't know but I don't know if our solicitors say this is the case law you should be looking at, and they say no, it's that one. I honestly don't know which one it is, because I'm not legal and I'm not planning trained, other than planning committee trained. So I don't think it would help me to read the two legal arguments that are happening. I think you make a good point about them speaking to each other, and I think an informative that says, will you please talk to each other, and puts a pressure on the developers who are here this evening to hear us say it as well. You need to go and talk, particularly before you get to the ones that are further down. We heard them say, actually, G3 and the F blocks that are nearer the actual bus depot part of it, it becomes even more vital for them than it does for these initial ones at this end. So they don't want to set a precedent, but they need to have those conversations, and do not come back before this council until you have reached agreement on the phase 2B application, because the detailed application should come back, because government has agreed that reserved matters on phased applications can come back, or are consulting on it, hurrah. So I think that could help with that, but I don't agree with the deferral. But I did raise my hand initially to ask about the social rent, or to comment on the social rent. I, in my ward, have had car-capped schemes for, well, forever, it feels like, because we've been CPZ'd for 20-odd years. And residents do write to me and say, it's wrong, I should be allowed to buy a parking permit. And I write back and go, well, you need to go and have a conversation with whoever did your conveyancing solicitor, because they should have told you this is a car cap scheme and you're not entitled to them. And I'm happy to do that because that's what we approved. The only time I have had sympathy is when it was a social rented accommodation and the council had nomination rights to it. And I'm not sure what the nomination rights are here. But the person was told it was the second property they were being offered, and if they did not accept it, they would drop down the waiting list. But they needed a car because they regularly visited a very disabled relative. And they were not told before they accepted the property that no car was there. So I think when we talk about in the marketing, it's really important for the private sale properties or private rented properties, whatever they will be. But it's really important for those in the social rent to understand that this is also effectively a car capped scheme. So if you are on a waiting list for accommodation, you don't accept it and risk moving further down the list when you later find out. Now, I'm sure Guinness Partnership would not aim to do that. However, I have had that circumstance with a different RP in my ward. So when we talk about the marketing material, can we also include the information given to those looking to use the social rented accommodation, please?
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor George.
Thank you. I think this new scheme is quite a big jump from the previous one, and you know, you can tell that by the buildings that are sort of lined up. I suppose I'm disappointed in that we're increasing the density quite considerably, and yet the balconies are smaller than RBK standards, although they meet London standards apparently. They're 35% single aspect. It doesn't meet the 3 beds requirements. And yes, of course, there are benefits. The affordable housing is foremost amongst them. But, you know, and there's this continuous talk about, no worries, we've got this super green spine. But we know what happens with these tall buildings. They're not used. Not everybody will use those, because not everybody wants to go and sit outside somebody else's flat and have a barbecue. You know, these aren't like normal gardens. And I do think that we're going to have a lot of space, and it might be nice looking and, you know, nice to walk through, but I'm not convinced it's going to be used for great amenity space. I think this is, you know, this is quite a big jump for Kingston to produce something like, to agree to something like this. Although, like I say, I understand we need to get the numbers. I would have liked to have seen a lower height and something that sort of goes along like a road, rather than having these, talk about monolithic buildings. And I mean, that's what I mean, I must admit, I think the current ones aren't particularly good looking. And in fact, I'm quite disappointed because when I saw the original design, I thought, actually, they might look okay. I don't think they look okay. I think they look quite, almost like tombstones lined up. And I think these, I don't know if you can have lots of monoliths. Does that make sense? I'm not really sure. But they do look sort of stuck in. And I just, to me, it you know, it's verging on overdevelopment of the site. And I know, you know, you see this in central London, but we aren't central London, not yet. And I just think it's pushing the boundaries a bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor George. I don't think we've got any more comments. Just in terms of the kind of agent for change kind of issue that a lot of people touched upon, I know this has been, well, part of the reason this has been going on for a while has been around the conversations that have been going on between RBK developers and others around the noise issue. So this has been something that has been discussed quite a lot, and there's been relatively new information come in from so one of the objectors recently, but this is something that has been talked about for a long time. And yes, I'm not a legal expert. I don't think many of us around, well, in the member side are, we have to kind of go by what we're what's in the report, I think, to a certain degree. I think it's very, very important that, of sympathy with the bus depot and any other businesses that are there at the moment, so that they're not impacted negatively. People can't move in and say, oh, sorry, we don't like the noise you're creating, you need to shut down or reduce your operating hours. I think it's very important that we're clear that we don't want to see anything like that happen. Equally, people moving there, I think it's important we make it clear in the marketing material, as we said, that there will be, if this goes ahead, that these operations are taking place. Also, it's not a quiet area anyway, so people moving there will be aware they've got the train, you've got the A3, the train lines already, so people will be there expecting, I think, a certain degree of noise. So that might hopefully reduce the risk somewhat. My main concern around this is parking. I don't know if there's much we can do around with the legislation that's coming forward. The increase in demand for car-free or car-light developments. But I know, some people said, well, I'd like it if we drove less and we had fewer cars, but just from this being in my ward, the impact it's already having on the local area is significant. So that's a challenge that, will only increase if this gets approved. So we just need to be mindful of that. So I think, again, around the marketing, something we can do so people are clear that, this comes without any car parking spaces. Anything we could do working with, if this goes ahead, we'll see. Hopefully I'll still be a councillor for the area. We can work together to try and, whatever we can do working together, and also TfL. I don't know if there's anyone from TfL listening. It's been very hard to get your attention. We really need to work with TfL as well, given that, one of the main roads around there is TfL owned, and that's something we need to do working together to explore all options to reduce the impact. It's more about the neighbour, the neighbours. If you're moving there, you should know that, you're not going to be able to get a car parking space, or most people won't. And they'll go there hopefully knowing that, and they'll go there with the intention of not having a car. It's also the impact on the local neighbours, which is significant, and we're seeing that already. So that's a real big challenge. I can't see a reason for rejecting on that basis, however, because of the policies that are in place, and that would just be overturned, I think, if it came forward. There's lots we've discussed already, and it is moving on. I think we've kind of discussed this in good detail, so I'm happy to move forward with the vote. If everyone else is, we need to, should we just confirm any informative conditions we would like to add. So I think there's one about say if this gets approved, around what we call it screening on the balconies closest, sorry. So this is just in case. We hope this is already in place, but if we can put a condition around acoustic screening on the balconies that are facing, to the side of the railway line, that is included in the conditions if it's not already. Around the marketing material, so there's a couple of things around that. We want to make it clear that this is essentially car-free. Sorry, Colin.
Yeah, the marketing material will go in the section 106, not as a condition.
So that's something we can. So in terms of for the decision for today, we're telling you that's what we want, and you'll be putting that in the 106 essentially. Correct. Is that right?
Correct.
So on that, we want to have some of the wording around the car parking spaces, and also around the operation of the bus depot and any other businesses around there that might contribute to the noise levels. Just making sure that people are aware of those. Do we have anything else to include, Councillor Green?
There was also non-openable windows, which would be a condition, I think, in the ones facing the railway line, because are non-openable windows. And when you include in the section 106 information for the marketing, it's also for those on social rent, which is obviously not marketing as such, but however they help people move into the social rent, the car capping scheme element of it. Obviously, the social rent blocks are not on the railway line, so the other part becomes less relevant.
Is that one for us as council then? If we will be, I don't know if that'll be 106 or something. Okay, well, whoever, or the housing association or whoever, but yeah, making sure that they are informed.
So we know the housing association is Guinness Partnerships, because they're part of the deal. So it's probably I don't know if that's a section 106 on Guinness partnerships to say you must inform any potential residents of the social rented or shared ownership that this is a car capped scheme before they are asked to determine if this is suitable for them. I'm not quite sure what the wording would be.
If you give us delegated authority to work out the wording, I don't think we'll actually say Guinness, it will be a social housing provider.
Well, you got the gist, yeah, you understand what we're trying to achieve, I think. Okay. So just on the door, opening windows, I mean, my only concern is really what if you don't want the noise, you can close the window. You're not opening it, you're kind of restricting people's ability. I don't know what people think. It's just a relatively small point, but would like to mandate that the windows are closed? Yes, over there, Councillor Henderson, then Councillor Waring.
No, I don't. You do have the choice to keep them shut because you might want to get some air in your bedroom as well.
Councillor Waring.
Sorry, Chair, can I just frame that as a question to Colin then? With your experience and your opinion, which is the most robust way that we as a planning committee can secure the diplomatic immunity almost for the depot of noise complaints, but up to and maybe beyond having windows that can't open?
The suite of conditions that we have at the moment, and also the section 106, which again is similar to the marketing material, is that it tells the residents and all future residents of the 24/7 operations going on. That doesn't prevent them from making a complaint, but it reduces the effectiveness of that complaint because they already know that they've taken that property on with a fully functioning depot opposite on the rail. So we have that in place. Going back to the non-openable windows, I think that's a bit restrictive in terms of our suite of conditions will flush that out. If there are some windows that need to be non-openable, that will come out in the information submitted to discharge that condition. So if you just go, no, they're all non-openable, it's a blanket that might not be necessary.
Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Chair. I'd actually, and possibly still have, was going to be won over by Councillor Green's comments and her suggested conditions. But if we can include the condition that those windows are non-openable, I want to make sure that we're minimising any risk of people making a complaint which could then impact the bus depot. Then, on balance, given all the rest of it with tilted balance and the ability for the mayor to call in, I would have been minded actually to vote in favour of the application. But if we're not including that condition, then I certainly won't be.
Can I make a case for why I do think non-openable windows should be a condition? So I came across agents of change in my national role doing stuff with music venues. And they care very deeply about agents of change in legislation because obviously if you've got a live gig place and somebody builds some flats next to it, they then complain about the live gig place and then we have to listen to theirs and then we modify as a council the licence on said music venue which ends up closing too many of them down. It's how Agent for Change actually came about, I believe, to do with live music. The reason I bring that up is one of the things was about once the complaints come in and you say, well, you could close the window, actually, there is no requirement for them to close the window to have peaceful enjoyment of their home. So I think our noise department would say, we can't insist they close the window for peaceful enjoyment of their home, is how I think our noise department would deal with that complaint. Therefore, they would be asking for acoustic barriers at the Tolworth depot, which goes against what planning is saying in terms of agents of change. So that is why I think if we specify they are to be non-openable windows, we remove, as Councillor Giles says, we remove that opportunity for them to open their window and then complain, and we just go, well, you could close it. Because most noise can be negated by closing, or a lot of noise, I should say, can be negated by closing your windows, particularly if they're good quality windows, which they would have to be anyway in this circumstance. But we do still require the ambient noise outside to not be of a significant level, particularly at night. And we know it will be noisy at night. It's a bus depot where they rev engines to prepare and where they're doing repair works. So that's why I would like it in. So I'm going to ask Chair if it's not agreed wholeheartedly by the committee, I understand, but I would quite like a vote on that condition, and then those of us can choose to vote, each of us can choose to vote for it or against it before the substantive.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was going planning on getting people's opinion. Yes, Councillor Henderson.
But just to be clear, in the marketing material, we will make it absolutely clear that there is this depot with the noise, and there's legal protections around that depot as well.
Yes, well, that's what we've agreed to that already. I'd like to move on if we can, but just on that, which windows are we? Sorry, okay. Well, I'll come to you in a second. Which windows are we talking about?
So I'm suggesting all of the windows, which are 2 bedrooms, I think, and the smaller one to each lounge on the corner blocks, I believe, having looked at the plans. So anything that faces directly onto the railway line.
Councillor George.
For my own peace of mind, really, are there any flats that, if this were to go ahead as we're suggesting, would not have any opening windows? Are we sure of that? Okay, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure.
Okay, sorry, Colin, yes.
And just to be clear, this is on phase 2A. This is on the detailed scheme. We're not talking about on the outline scheme, which we subject to change.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be part of the reserved matters, but I think if we put it on phase 2A, when they come back with phase 2B, they'd probably automatically sort of put that in. I mean, if they wish to challenge us on this, then they can take us to appeal on this condition whilst they're getting on with the rest of the conditions. I mean, I think we can make a good case for why that is necessary. But it is open.
We'll take a vote. Yeah, we'll take a vote. I mean, that's something we can do with Colin. Presumably, this is something we're able to do. There's no issues in terms of being able to implement this condition, from what it's saying. So I'd like to take a vote on it. Yes, Councillor Green.
Can I make one slight change? Actually, I don't think H needs it. It's G 2 and 3.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I know I'm being difficult.
And sorry, Chair, and not H.
H is the one that's next to the station, which is different to G2. Excuse me, G2 and G3. So it's G2 and G3 need non-openable windows on the railway side, not H, is what I'm saying.
Are we happy to say that's what we prefer? Okay, if we can move, we'd like to move forward. So, yeah, are we happy with what Councillor Green is recommending? So all those in favour of putting on that condition, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, so that's carried. So that is being included. It will be included in the. Oh, so just for those who voted favour, just raise your hands so we can note it for the minutes, please. So everyone, but. That's been carried. So that will be included in the agreed. We need to go. Okay. Okay. Who's against and abstaining? I think you got that. Yeah, we got that. All right. So that's noted. Right. I think we can move ahead with the vote. Are we all happy with what we're voting for? Okay. So all those in favour of the recommendation with the conditions attached, please raise your hands. And those against. And I think that's everyone. Any abstentions? So it has been approved. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, everyone in the audience for your patience and attending today. Are we happy to move forward, or would you like to take 5 minutes? Councillor Green would like 5 minutes, obviously. Everyone else would like 5 minutes. Okay. So it is. We'll come back at 1:45. So I've got 21:38 by my watch. We'll come back at 21:45. Thank you again, everyone, for your time so far.